2 weeks ago in Toronto, Scott Dixon was poised to win his second Verizon IndyCar race of 2016 and move forward in the championship. Dixon captured the pole position in qualifying and led over half the race, but it was the strategy call to not pit early for his final stop that cost him a potential win as Josef Newgarden brought out a caution. It was a caution that saw Will Power already in pit lane, catching the lucky break to cycle to the lead once Dixon made his final stop. Achieving his third win in 4 races, Power's summer stretch of wins has vaulted the 2013 champion to second place in the points behind his Penske teammate Simon Pagenaud. Now, headed into the Buckeye State, Power looks to close the championship gap while Dixon looks to claim win number 6 at a track that prides itself as one of the most competitive in the U.S.
Well done, boys. That was a sweet way to win.
And the Verizon IndyCar Championship is on everyone's mind. It is a hot July day in Central Ohio, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. 22 IndyCar drivers are about to tack the Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. Robin Miller, you never know who he's going to find down in pit lane.
You know, people try to borrow money from me all the time, Brian, and this guy stops me in the pit lane, and, you know, ex-TV stars, we got to hang together.
Yeah, well, you got the X part right, you got the TV part right. Star, I'm not sure ever actually applied. I don't know that that would hold up in court, but what really does irritate me, whenever I see you at home watching the coverage, or even worse, here in person, I think to myself, how is it this guy has a job and I don't?
Because you took the buyout and I got a lot of debt. Now,
Yeah.
let's ask about Harry, your son. Does he have a go-kart yet? Quarter midget? What's he going to drive?
I'm currently, and by the way, if anybody from any sort of parent association is listening, some of this may or may not be true. I have a Frog Eye Sprite. Frog Eye Sprite is too small for me, but it's perfect for a 12-year-old. And I'm not saying the 12-year-old is my son, but it's perfect for a 12-year-old to learn how to drive a stick shift. And I'm not telling you where I live, and I'm not saying it's my kid, and I could be lying.
All right. Mr. Letterman, thank you for your time and your humor, and I don't know, you're just a good guy.
Seriously, how much longer are you going to be doing this?
Bye, Brian. Hurry, Brian.
How old are you?
66.
Oh,
I mean, think about that. I'm not saying it's my kid. I'm not saying it's my frog-eyed Sprite. Oh, my goodness. The crowd sitting there in the stands, you know what they're waiting for? They're waiting for the words to get this event underway.
Mid-Ohio race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in all of sports. Please welcome from the Washington Township Fire Department, Joe Tadyanitz, to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines!
There are your gladiators getting ready to go. Single seat competition, IndyCar competition around about 2.2 miles worth of asphalt here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. It's going to be a tough one today, to say the least.
Sun's out, pavement's hot, drivers are absolutely determined. Every one of these guys thinks they have a chance.
And who's the first car out? Well, it's that one right there. Don't miss a chance to get in it. And that is Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. All you have to do is enter at racewithhonda.com. Today's lucky winner, Thomas Franzak from Cheektowaga, New York. Thomas, have you ever been around Mid-Ohio before? And have you ever ridden with Mario Andretti?
No, I haven't been before. Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me, Thomas? You having fun?
Yeah. You're
already getting excited.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you fine, Thomas. Have a great run around this racetrack. I'm going to let you enjoy it. We'll let you go run with Mario, but remember, everybody, by logging on to race with Honda.com, Thomas won the opportunity to start today's race with Indy 500 champion Mario Andretti. Now, take the two-seater out, and let's look at the Mother's Polish starting grid. This is how they'll line up. Championship contenders, 1 and 2. Well, they start 1 and 2. Pagano on the pole, Power outside.
Going back to row 2, you've got Ryan Hunter-Reay. Huge breath of fresh air for that Andretti Autosport driver to be in the top 6 on a road course. And then Josef Newgarden, sensational this season, still healing from that big crash in Texas.
Charlie Kimball, the fastest Chip Ganassi car. That was a surprise. Dixon was the man to beat all weekend. And a huge lap for Graham Rahal. He bounced into the top 6 and put a good lap together in Fast 6.
Yeah, Graham excited about that. Elio Castroneves and Juan Pablo Montoya, Penske teammates, not excited to not make the Fast 6. They'll start in row 4.
Back to row 5, we find James Hinchcliffe and Michaela Lotion, teammates. The Schmidt-Peterson Hondas will start side by side.
Here we go. We got the guy that came in here, the man to beat, made a bad mistake in qualifying. They didn't run their second set of tires, and he paid for it big time. Rossi's had a solid weekend so far. He qualified well. He's been quick in practice.
Row 7, Tony Kanaan. I don't think I've ever seen him that upset after qualifying. He starts alongside Max Chilton. Kanaan not at all pleased at what they put forth in qualifying.
And looking at row 8, another Andretti driver with Carlos Munoz and Sebastian Bourdais. Got to be very disappointed starting that far back. They'll have to get clever with their strategy today.
We got Jack Hawksworth, a good qualifying for him. He outran his teammate. And then R.C. Enerson, he's been the talk of the weekend. The 19-year-old kid, it's his first race.
Back in row 10, Spencer Pigot and Takuma Sato. Pigot had a couple of problems throughout the weekend, but perhaps his biggest cheerleader, his teammate, Josef Newgarden.
And all the way back at row 11, your last row, you've got 2 Americans, Marco Andretti and Connor Daly. And Marco Andretti saying, hey, I'm the common denominator. I'm the one that needs to figure out how to start qualifying further up. So both of those guys will be charging hard from the back.
Always have great shots for you. And today, NTT Data, Tony Kanaan, they'll bring you some great shots from the number 10. Scott Dixon, who has owned the keys to Mid-Ohio, it seems like, will bring you Verizon onboard shots all race long. Lucas Oil with James Hinchcliffe. Elio Castroneves will also have some good onboards for us. We said he wasn't happy with his qualifying effort. He'll be trying to charge forward. Charlie Kimball, he's won here before. His only IndyCar victory came at this racetrack. And of course, the guy that won here last year, Graham Rahal, with Steak and Shake on board, will bring you some great shots. And you can also ride all day long with Graham Rahal via Verizon streaming. All you have to do is download IndyCar Mobile to access the exclusive live onboard cameras, hear driver and pit crew chatter and more, and it's only on Verizon. Through turn 9, field getting ready to go. Let's check in on pit lane. We'll start with Kevin Lee.
Will Power has been on a charge to get back up into the championship. Second now, appropriate that the two in the championship lead are 1-2, and they've been clearly the fastest all weekend. Tim Cindric will call strategy for Will Power, and they're also pitted right next to each other. Simon Pagenaud is right up here, but Simon is dealing with significant back pain. He had to be helped out of the car this morning and again today, but he says he'll be ready to go. Jan?
And Kevin, if anything goes wrong on that front row, Josef Newgarden, who starts third today, he could pounce. And he says that his broken right hand should not be an issue, but did admit this is going to be an extremely physical event all the way through. He thinks the key to winning, a lot of drivers think this is having the right setup to keep the tires underneath you, Katie.
Jan, Mid-Ohio has been Scott Dixon's playground, winning 5 of his 9 races here. But this year, it hasn't been so easy. He says a miscommunication left him out of just his second Firestone Fast 6 this season. Then he hit the wall this morning in practice and broke his front wing, but he was the fastest time this morning. Remember, he won from dead last in 2014. Today, he's charging from 11th. Brian?
Talk about charging. Simon Pagenaud in the throttle already early, and you see him pulling away as we start and go 3 wide down to turn 4.
Will Power desperate to defend that second starting position. He goes big on the outside and cold second. No contact so far. They're bunched up.
I'll tell you what, Simon Pagenaud was not waiting around. That was a really early start. Caught his teammate way off guard, and Power nearly got swept up by the second row as we see Kimball there, his in-car following Hunter-Reay.
Jostling in the back. Look at Hinchcliffe inside, and a little contact will leave That was Alexander Rossi, Hinchcliffe with. Man, that is tight back in turn 9. If you can get it done, that's all well and good. But if it doesn't work, it turns out bad a lot of times. Hinchcliffe got away with one. Now on the back of Tony Kanaan.
On board there with Dixon. He's fallen back to 13th. He's going to be looking now. He's up to 11th. Looking for any chance to gain positions early before it settles in, because it becomes very difficult to pass in dirty air around here once that opening lap is complete.
And Townsend, one thing to keep in mind, Scott Dixon is on the black sidewall Firestone. Everyone around him on reds. They're trying a strategy. That tire's not as fast. He's hanging on for dear life. If it works, it pays later in the race.
Rolling the dice already is Ganassi, and we talk about how strong Dixon has been here, but Pagenaud with that jump now has about 5 or 6 car lengths on Will Power, and Newgarden has been pressing as well. Marco Andretti trying to move forward.
He's gone up 7 positions. He's in the 15th spot, so a huge first lap for Marco Andretti.
Andretti there in the yellow and blue Snapple machine. Had an absolutely dismal qualifying effort, and as we said, he is moving up already up to 15.
He had a bad Toronto. He qualified dead last there, but he raced pretty well. We didn't really pay a lot of attention. He came away with a top 10, and he said that was a good race for me. It was a bit of a confidence builder, but came here, struggled all weekend, but he looked better this morning in warm-up, and he's made a lot of positions in the first lap, so it's a good start for Marco.
Championship contenders at the top. Pagenaud leads the championship, Power second. It's the way they run on the racetrack. We talk a lot about the aerodynamic wash you get off of this aero package. What is Will Power going to be able to do with Pagenaud out in front?
Well, it's going to be difficult to do much. He's going to start thinking about just figuring out the pace that he needs to run to hold position, keep the gap consistent, and then manage the tires so that he's strong at the end when they come to pit stops. Look at
really
Kanaan.
Late. He had a little run there. Rossi was wide at the keyhole and allowed Kanaan to get some clean air on his wing, but he just wasn't close enough.
Kanaan already had picked up 3 positions from the start. He wants to make it 4. Marco Andretti, the biggest gainer, with 6 positions.
On board with the most experienced driver in this field at Mid-Ohio. 14 career starts at Mid-Ohio, but guys, his best finish, 4th. He's never even been on the podium for Tony Kanaan. That's a statistic that I'm sure he wants to change for his career and for today at this tough track. But where he's running right now, it's kind of right in the thick of things. He's 11th, and he's in the mid-pack where it's fiercely contested.
James Hinchcliffe running 12th. This is on the opening lap. Rossi there in the black and white 98.
A little bit optimistic there, thinking the door was going to stay open with that late of a dive in.
If he hadn't gotten the loose at the top, you wonder if maybe he would have been able to hold it. This is on board with Kanaan.
Yeah, that was a nice move by Kanaan here. Hinchcliffe gets flat sideways over the hill. Kanaan takes advantage of it, has the inside line.
But listen, guys, there's so many people that have had races here where you start, where you finish, and you have these unspectacular Mid-Ohio's where you drive the whole race and you end up 17th. And I understand Hinch and the enthusiasm and the determination to make positions early. Oftentimes, that's your only shot.
It comes down to strategy, starts and restarts, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. There are going to be guys that are desperate on restarts to gain positions, and that's really kind of what you saw with James Hinchcliffe, willing to make.
Guy who's got to be getting desperate is this guy right here, Scott Dixon. Arguably, everybody was saying he's going to win this weekend. Robin Miller said he was going to lap the field. So they made a bad judgment error on qualifying. He's got a run here. Look at this.
He got a big run.
A really nice exit out of one, but I think he damaged his front wing.
I was going to say, it looks like he has some damage to the wing. Now Hinchcliffe, a little lock of the right front slides wide.
We can get a shot of that front wing. I think he's damaged that far end plate on the outside. Is bent over.
Good job, Barry. Acting like
there it is, left front end fence for Scott Dixon. It's flapping around. Now we saw that on Montoya, if you remember, at our last race in Toronto. It really didn't affect Montoya's pace when Montoya and Newgarden got together on the back straight.
He's made one position. He's got a long way to go to get to the front, but he's definitely trying hard.
Well, when you think about it, we talk about desperation. I mean, it can work for you or it can work against you. You really kind of have to harness it and use it in a good way. If you get too desperate, you throw caution to the wind, and that's when you get in trouble.
Hinchcliffe's got to be frustrated. He started next to Aloshin, 7th and 8th, and he's already back to 13th. So he's been getting shuffled back by Castroneves, Rossi, Kanaan, Dixon have all gotten by him.
still trying to digest this Robin Miller theory on Dixon lapping the field. Robin, how's that going to happen?
Well, it's not going to probably happen now, but
well, he's got a run here on Kanaan. It looked like he was going to make a move there.
Watching for Dixon on the push to pass. And he's on the button, but not close enough to make a move.
Scott Dixon trying to move forward. He is, but he's got a long way to go. You're watching CNBC's coverage of IndyCar, and you see the crowd on the hill. They want it. United Rentals, official equipment rental services provider of IndyCar and proud sponsor of Graham Rahal, and by TireRack.com. Find, deliver, install smarter. Tire Rack. We'll be right back. Simon Pagenaud from the drop of the green out in front here at Mid-Ohio, but in all of the interviews that we heard at the beginning of the show, drivers talking about strategy and what it would take to win the Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. And part of that strategy, well, Jan, tell us about the pit windows.
Well, the strategy for a guy like Simon Pagenaud, who you see now, is to stay out as long as you can and hope there's not yellow. But see, the pit window there highlighted in yellow has already opened. We're past lap 6. We've heard some traffic up and down pit lane that those who want to gamble might stop anywhere from lap 10 to 15. Last year, Graham Rahal stopped on lap 13 and won this race. The way it worked, there was a caution after that before the leaders had stopped, and that leapfrogged him to the top. So anyone you see stopping in the next few laps, they're taking a gamble on a later yellow.
Be interesting to see how that plays out. It is a beautiful July day in Central Ohio. I understand the weather not nearly that good in Pocono, so welcome in all our NBCSN viewers. Sorry about the rain in Pocono, but a great Verizon IndyCar Series race here from Mid-Ohio.
I'll tell you what, talk about the pit windows, here we go. Connor Daly's the first guy to come in, and I think in the next few laps, if I'm everybody from Rahal back, I'd start looking at going off strategy from 7th back.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because I see a wing adjustment for Connor Daly. They have struggled all weekend long with the balance on that car. Kanaan still trying to fight with Alexander Rossi.
Had a piece. He had a piece, something fly off the car. He says he hit him, so I'd like to see a replay of that if we could get that.
Scott Dixon was right behind it, and obviously you don't want to get caught up in someone else's problem. We talked about that desperation.
That's that yellow. You pit now, and you got guys racing like this right here. Kanaan, Rossi protects the inside. He tries to go rodeo on the outside. Rossi hits the curb, pushes him wide. I don't know if there was any contact there.
He got up on the curb, and that a lot of times will spit the car out.
Yep.
Rubin's racing in my eyes, Townsend.
Yeah, no big deal. It looks like there was a piece of debris that Kanaan ran over. But to your point, Paul, even if you're the leader right now or in the top 5, you consider taking the insurance of pitting early to protect against the yellow that could come. Remember, Pagenaud was caught out. This is R.C. Enerson.
If you're everybody from Rahal back, you got to start looking at pitting here pretty soon.
Dale Coyne teammates Enerson and Daly both opting to pit early.
And a lot of firsts for R.C. Enerson this weekend. That was his first pit stop in the Verizon IndyCar Series, and we know what a great strategist Dale Coyne is. It has brought his team victories in the past, and as impressive as R.C. Enerson is, and with some of that Dale Coyne magic, you never know where that youngster may finish.
He's got to worry he doesn't get a lap down, because his team, the leader's coming around pretty quick here, because he was running at the back and he's not that far in front, so he's got to pick it up.
I talked with Kyle Moyer today about that possibility as we go on board here with Tony Kanaan of Simon Pagenaud. Do you want to get in every time the window opens? He says, well, the problem with that is if you do it in your first or second stint, that somewhat dictates what you're going to do the rest of the way, and people understand your strategy. It's more key and vital in that final stint, but they're going to gamble a little bit the first couple of times and try to run to their full window.
Well, the other thing about Dale Coyne and R.C. Enerson, think about this. We talked about this as well, Paul, and that is, do you really want to pit him during a full course caution or when everybody else is coming? He's never done a pit stop before in his life, so perhaps pitting him there, it's a combination of strategy, letting him get used to it.
Problem you have is you take a rookie like that, and then if it does go yellow, you put him at the front of the pack with the Bulls. So you get your first pit stop out of the way as a rookie, but we've seen Newgarden, Hunter Ray here. could put him right at the front.
Here's your Chevy driver update. Simon Pagenaud up front, then Will Power. We understand Sebastian Bourdais setting up for a pit stop, but it's Chevy out in front, first, second, and third, in fact, in Mid-Ohio right now.
Looked like Dixon might have just shot for pit lane there. There he is.
There he is.
See if they do anything about the left front end fence. I would suspect they'll just leave that as they come to the box.
Right down in here now.
Mike Hull is talking him in. They weren't necessarily going to come in early, but let's keep a look at that front wing to see if they do anything significant there. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, and Dixon trying to play strategy just like Sebastian Bourdais as well. I knew Bourdais was coming in. Dixon, they were kind of holding things close to the vest and trying to keep their options open as to what they might do.
So no touch to that left front end fence. They'll know from the aero map that generates from the wind tunnel testing whether or not that is a high downforce producing piece, and clearly it doesn't have much effect on the overall total front downforce.
If I'm Dixon, I hope it falls off in the middle of the track right now. Of course, yellow. So hey, let's be honest. They're hoping it falls off right in the middle.
Surprised the crew member didn't catch the air hose on it as he came by with the gun.
Well, maybe he just shimmies the steering. You remember Burt Rutan when he flew around the planet on 1 tank of fuel? He gave the winglets a flick to knock them off. They were about to fall anyways. This is Castroneves.
Castroneves in, rolling your way, Kevin.
He's not been incredibly happy with the car so far. They tried some things in the morning warm-up, wasn't working, so they went back to what his teammates were doing. He said, we just have to be smart, we have to battle, and get through the rest of the way. We see a big turn on the front wing as Castroneves goes out now on the alternates.
Like a pretty big adjustment.
All the heavy hitters are hitting the pit lane. Like I said, they're all going to go for this alternate strategy. It's so hard to pass on this track that you've just got to make something happen.
Castroneves out in front of Dixon, but Dixon with a lap on his tires. Everybody that's pitted has come back out on the red, the alternate tire, the red sidewall. Some look at your Firestone telemetry. Seeing 173 to 175 in qualifying. 173 today. Dixon still trying to get those reds up to temperature. Yesterday was about the 3rd or 4th lap where they really came in.
And this really hurts Scott Dixon to come out behind Castroneves because Dixon has the pace. He's been the fastest car in the practice rounds, had the issue in qualifying. He needs clean air to put that good pace to work.
We haven't said this a lot this season. It's the battle for 3rd right there. Ryan Hunter-Reay in 4th, trying to chase down Josef Newgarden. To give you a good idea, Honda versus Chevy. Ryan Hunter-Reay in that bright yellow DHL. Honda power behind him and Chevy power for Josef Newgarden.
Finally some spark in Ryan Hunter-Reay's voice yesterday after getting into the Fast 6. He felt great about how the car ran. He said, oh, here we go.
Dixon.
Here, oh, he's done. Front suspension is folded up. He went for a dive bomb on Castroneves.
And this is full course caution. And that's going to help everybody that just pit. That's Aloshin, Castroneves, Dixon obviously is out. Wow. Munoz, Bourdais. They'll all go to the front after this caution.
The word we used earlier was desperation. Was this a desperation move by Scott Dixon? I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. But he and Castroneves together down in turn 2, down in the keyhole. And Scott Dixon's day is done.
Well, we just talked about the urgency of putting the strong car to good use. You need clean air to do it. And watch as Dixon was trying to get past Castroneves. He's got to pop driver's right.
Castroneves is never easy. He fades to the inside. He's looking in his mirrors. Dixon goes for the inside. The door is open. And you're not going to get 2 cars in there when you're on the curb like that.
I'm not sure the door was ever fully open either.
Well, it was cracked open, and he tried to kick it open, and there just wasn't enough room. He climbed the curb right on the braking zone here, and then it was done. You know, it's like we said in Toronto, you push that button, and the urgency to get that pass done is so high that he stuffed it in there, and that's a huge championship mistake right
Actually,
there.
quite surprised to see the suspension collapse in that manner. Normally, we see such robust strength from the Dallara suspension with side-to-side impact. I think it just was a bad angle, and maybe when he hit the curb and the suspension was unloaded, that's what allowed it to weaken. Watch Dixon up the inside. You can see the track's dirty. He's going to hit the curb. And I think when you hit the curb right there, that unloads the suspension on the left side for Dixon, which really weakens its ability to to handle the blow of impact.
And they'd both gone to push to pass. You saw it lit up on Castroneves' car and also on Scott Dixon's car. So Castroneves using push to pass to defend. Dixon was trying to use it to get by, and as it tapers down on that line on the way in, contact happened. The incident's under review by the stewards in race control. Castroneves, you wonder about the right rear suspension on that car. You can see certainly the bumper pod has been damaged.
Yeah, likely they're going to have to replace that, but since they had just pitted, they're certainly not going to want to come to pit lane because their strategy is going to play out brilliantly if they can stay out.
I'll tell you who I think the leader is going to be. I think it's going to be Aloshin. He was
Correct.
the last guy in the pit lane, and I think he might end up being the leader.
He will.
It's going to be interesting, and we talked about this. This is not a racetrack where you historically get a lot of yellows. The average is right around 2, I believe, but when you get them and you haven't done your pit yet, it changes completely the strategy, and that's been the topic of the weekend.
Here's what happens in Mid-Ohio when you get a yellow, is it bunches everybody up. And everybody has lots of overtakes in the bag, and we always say yellows breed yellows. It happens a lot here in Mid-Ohio. We've had perfect green flag running, but when everybody bunches up, you get big eyes and you get heavy on that overtake button, and that's when we get more cautions.
I think the other thing too is when we talk about the championship, there are probably 5 or 6 guys who have a legitimate shot at it. Scott Dixon obviously have been damaged in that incident, but there are a lot of other guys, Paul and I were talking about this yesterday, that can affect the championship. Guys that are going to be fast and can insert themselves in there, but they don't have a shot at winning it.
Well, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have 3 rookies now at the front of the field. You're going to have Piggott, Peterson, and Daly are going to be running probably about 6th, 7th, and 8th after this cycle of pit stops.
Pits are open, cars are in, and it's about to get really, really busy, Jan.
Yes, it is, and Josef Newgarden of the top 3 will be the first one to hit pit road. Obviously, a lot of people stopping at the moment on pit in. Josef Newgarden has chosen to go with the black sticker sidewall Firestones. Some of the others are going with red. Let's get up to Kevin for the other stops. Kevin.
Simon Pagenaud and Will Power coming in nose to tail. Pagenaud is going to take the primary Firestones. Same with Power. He gets out second behind Pagenaud. Then it's Newgarden, Hunter Ray, Kimball, and Ray Hall.
Tough pit stop for Hinchcliffe there. You saw that wing adjustment is so expensive in terms of time lost, and it looks like they're trying to take front wing out. So Hinchcliffe must have been loose through the fast corners. Here you see the race off pit road.
Montoya and Pagenaud stayed out on track, and Power.
Track position.
And Andretti. So everybody from Newgarden back is pitted.
That's interesting.
Yeah. What do you making sense of there?
Well, there's Pagenaud's on pit lane.
Well,
Power's on pit lane.
Timing and scoring is messed up.
So Montoya, Andretti, Chilton didn't pit. So as timing and scoring gets sorted and cycles back through, it's Montoya, Andretti, and Chilton stayed on the racetrack.
So Pagenaud, Power, Newgarden, Hunter Ray. No change in that order, except they're at the back of the people that already pit early.
So drama already unfolding just 17 laps in here at Mid-Ohio. It's the Honda 200. We'll be right back.
Now in Mid-Ohio, Juan Pablo Montoya is the leader as off sequence continues, and the reason for the caution is the rough weekend continues for Scott Dixon, who has been consistently fast. He's been strong at this track. Scott joins me now. Tell me what happened here as we are eventually going to see you come together with Elio.
Well, Elio came out of the pits, and on a pit exchange there, we were trying to pit early, obviously, and mix up the strategy, and he was off pace a little bit. Caught him, and then on the exit of 1 here, had a really good run. Got beside him, and then he kind of kept edging me over, and I just had nowhere to go. I braked, I was right beside him, and then he turned me right into the curb. And then once I hit the curb, it just launched the car right into his. So, you know, had we had a little more room there, I think we would have got through comfortably. It was definitely going to be an aggressive move, but you know, I should know better dealing with Elio. It normally ends like this. So hopefully we can get the car back out there and maybe clean up a little bit of business out there.
And maybe score some more points. Remember last year at Iowa when they rebuilt the car, ultimately it helped the championship.
Green, 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 racing again. Juan Pablo Montoya leads the field down, and look at this, Marco Andretti in that red and blue Snapple entry, trying to make a move on Montoya, and it is busy behind.
One thing we got to keep an eye on with Castro Neves, his rear bumper wing pod is loose. It's flapping around a little bit, and that could draw a penalty to come in and fix that, because you would not want that to fly off on the straightaway.
What you won't see, there it is, right here, screen left, right rear of Montoya, or sorry, Castro Neves, flopping around as Paul said, and it'll be interesting to see what the officials do. I think it's going to have to get much looser and floppier than that before they would call him to pit lane.
Castro Neves in 5th. You have to look all the way back to the back of the field to find James Hinchcliffe. He got a pit speed violation, so that moved him to the back.
You know what, I got to give a shout out to Marco. We read his quotes this morning. He said, you know what, the buck stops with me. He goes, the common denominator is me. I got to get faster. I got to do a better job. And now running P2, Castro Neves off the track.
Wonder if he was helped.
I was just going to say.
Or if he's a little light on rear downforce because of that pod. That's a lot of downforce if you look at all the elements there. Let's see what happens. We're watching from our helicopter.
Got to run on Chilton. Could this be teammates' revenge here? No, he just flat out, way out braked it and way overdrove it.
He didn't lock the brakes.
They lose a lot of time going around that sand trap. So
look at the rear pod sagging.
Yep. And that's, as you said, that's lost downforce. It's not up, it's not level, it's not providing the rigidity it needs to.
But you know what's kind of cool is it flexes back up under braking as the speed bleeds off, so it's less drag on the straightaway. That might be an advantage if he can stay on track.
Understand that 21.
Well, that's for sure going to be a penalty. He's going to have to come in and change that, so you can't have that dragging on the ground. And that's a huge blow for Josef Newgarden as well. That's 2 weeks in a row that has happened to him. In Toronto with Montoya, he got clipped the exact same pod.
And I was going to say the same thing, Paul. He had that pod. That was, as you said, Montoya at Toronto. And if you remember, that was under caution. It took them a really long time to make this change. There's a new tether that holds these on in case of impact. And now this is under green. This is going to take a real heroic effort to get him back out again and not lose a lap. That will be very difficult indeed. Josef Newgarden, wow, he's had a fast car. When you get out of sequence, you get back there in traffic, this kind of stuff can happen.
Newgarden's had horrible luck at Mid-Ohio. Always fast. His best finish here has been 12th. He's been leading with a chance to win. Had some pit stop issues previously, now this.
Bad luck and mistakes by all the championship contenders so far today. Castro Neves, Scott Dixon, now Josef Newgarden. This is exactly what Pagano wants, because all he has to do is worry about power for right now.
Let's see where Newgarden cycles out as Montoya is the leader. And there's Montoya. I believe Newgarden, is that him fourth in the shot?
Yeah, he's coming out behind a Lotion.
See him with the push to pass on, and Helio Castro Neves now on pit lane after that off. Kevin?
He's going to come in and they're going to replace that rear wing assembly and also fuel. No tire change this time for Castro Neves. That's partly because you want to stay on the red alternates. He had just started this stint. That's the preferred tire in this case. These rear wing assemblies are a little bit lengthy. And remember, they also now have to get the tethers in there that help keep parts from flying out. So it takes a few seconds longer than it did a year ago.
When you talk about the championship, as we came into Mid-Ohio, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Castro Neves, Dixon, Newgarden, all having problems early.
And they're struggling a bit with Castro Neves there as the leaders are about to come through the final corner. His teammate Montoya just on the front stretch now. So unfortunately for Castro Neves, this is a huge blow when he had a chance for the strategy to play out. There goes Montoya.
Juan Pablo Montoya, not the start that he wanted, but he played the strategy game, and when the yellow came,
Montoya's got to get his foot down. He's got to pull a gap to Pagano if he's got any chance of winning this thing. So Chilton now leaving the pits. He must have had a little bit of damage. And look at Hunter Ray gets by Kanan. Great battle here with all these cars.
This will all cycle strategy, and you said it, Juan Pablo Montoya needs to get the hammer down and pull the biggest gap that he can. See Spencer Pigot there.
3 rookies right here, Spencer Pigot, Connor Daly, and his new teammate, R.C. Enerson, all racing each other. This is good experience for these guys, with Pagano, the championship leader, right behind Enerson.
Ryan Hunter-Ray in the yellow number 28, the 10, the blue, Tony Kanaan right behind. And they're closing in on R.C. Enerson just in front in the red, white, and blue number 19. You saw the 22 right there. Simon Pagano, and just in front in the white, green, and black.
Here's the dilemma that Pagano has. He's not getting aggressive with these guys and trying to work his way through the field. He's almost points racing and just waiting and biding his time. But if you allow Montoya to get too far down the road, he could pit and come back out in front of you.
And we talked about this in the break, but right now Pagano, to your point, Paul, 13 seconds back of Montoya. And I think, Jan, you say it's about 25 seconds to do a green flag stop. That's what you lose on the track?
Yes, it is. And I look down that same order. You can see the gaps on the top of the intervals right now. If you see anything less than 25 seconds, that's where somebody like Montoya would drop back. And we haven't got there yet. So it looks like we put him back even behind Rahal. You see, that's 15.9. At the moment, he needs a bigger gap. Anybody who has not stopped needs 22 to 25 seconds to try and drop back in a decent spot.
And Montoya's on lap 24, so it has to be in the next 2 or 3 laps that he comes to pit lane. So he's not going to have the gap if they pit under green right now.
Hit this lap, hit this lap.
He's running 106 laps to 108 for Pagano, so just not enough time.
Understand that Montoya's guys have laid out on pit lane, and that we think was his radio communication. You see the push to pass, so Montoya absolutely giving it everything to build the gap.
You wonder too, we talk about the aerodynamic buffeting. Can Pagano not do anything with Enerson in front of him, who's actually pretty quick?
I'll tell you, Marco has stayed right with him. We know Montoya is one of the fastest guys in the series. Marco on the push to pass, so give him some credit. He is stuck. He is stuck right with Montoya.
Fortunately for Marco, he'll have to pit here shortly as well, and both of those guys, Montoya and Marco, are going to drop back maybe as far as 18th.
And if you're joining us from Pocono, the great thing about the Verizon IndyCar Series, you see those numbers lit up on the side of the car, shows you the positions where they're running right now, and when those numbers turn green and flash PP, that's push to pass, so you can tell what's going on. Montoya, the leader, on pit road. Katie?
Jan explained those pit windows to you. Marco Andretti stretching it to the very end, going from Firestone Reds to Firestone Blacks, and up to Jan.
And they're expected to make a front wing change, and they do. They take some wing out for Juan Pablo Montoya. It's a nice quick stop for him, but you can see the cars. He gets out ahead of Marco Andretti, but just as predicted, look at them all flash by. He did not have enough time to build enough gap. Drops to the back of the order.
Interesting to see Montoya, I think, mounted a sticker left front and a used right front.
Still on reds, though, for Montoya. We saw Andretti go to the primary black. That's Mikhail Voloshin, your leader. And
He's got a big lead. He's pulled a 6-second lead on Carlos Munoz and 8 seconds on Sato. So he has been really quick this weekend. He's moved to the front, got the pit strategy right now, and he's in control.
He's legitimately your leader of this race. Everybody's made one stop. It's pretty wide on a 3-stop strategy with the pit window. So if Voloshin can hold pace, he's looking pretty good here at Mid-Ohio.
Mikhail Voloshin out in front. It's a Honda out in front. The Indy 200 from Mid-Ohio. What about our championship leader? All the way back in 8th. More to come. Plenty more to come from Mid-Ohio. On Friday, all eyes will be on Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, as athletes from across the globe compete for Olympic gold and national pride. The opening ceremony of the 2016 Olympic Games coming Friday, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, to the networks of NBC Universal. Mikhail Voloshin stays out in front. The first laps he's led since 2014 in Detroit. Don't forget, there's a look at the running order. If you too want to lead an IndyCar race, just like Mikhail Voloshin is, you can be a part of Honda's fastest seat in sports sweepstakes. Just go to racewithhonda.com to sign up. Enter for your chance to lead the start for Verizon IndyCar Series race in the Honda two-seater driven by an Indy 500 champion. Josef Newgarden just behind Mikhail Aleshin, but that's not the way that they run. Newgarden all the way down in 20th.
Trying to figure out how the damage might have happened. Looking way back here, and there you see that's the damage, and we think that's Will Power that was behind Josef Newgarden that caused the contact that led to the damage. Let's listen on the radio, see if we can learn more.
Oh, yeah, my rear bumper. Copy left rear, he hit it.
You know, I'm going forward here, but they should look at Power that you can't just nail someone's rear wing off and not penalize them.
And I think Newgarden's got a great point. It forced him to pit, avoidable contact. You could call that. Remember, at Toronto, it was another Penske driver, Juan Montoya, that got into the back of Newgarden on the backstretch.
Trying to get his lap back.
That was impressive.
Aleshin didn't want any part of that. He doesn't want the turbulent air, but he says, I got to get back on the lead lap, and now he's got to go. But Aleshin raced him pretty hard to keep him behind.
I mean, just think about that.
He's coming back on him, though.
And that's a huge pass for Newgarden. If they get a yellow now, he'll stack right back up with the field.
We talked about it before the break. Newgarden 5th in the championship. He won't be able to run at Texas because of his incident that he had there. He's what caused part of the delay, but still he's in that championship hunt, and you've got the guy second in the championship removing part of the bodywork, sends him into the pit lane, sends him down a lap. So
right now we've got every one of the championship contenders other than Pagenaud has had some type of issue. We've had Power hit Newgarden changing wing, Dixon out. You know, everybody's had a problem, and this has really played into Pagenaud's hands.
Castroneves with his problem, as you see Takuma Sato running 3rd. They need a good finish, to say the least. Look at Sato's season. It has not been at all what he wanted. And his teammates, neither one of them had a good run at it. Sato with a 6th back in St. Pete and 5th in Long Beach, but everything else has been somewhat frustrating. He managed to persevere at Toronto and come home with a top 5 finish. If you look at his starting position, it was way back in 20th, so they just haven't had the speed. They've been able to parlay some decent finishes, but Bourdais running in 4th.
Right now, a great day for Honda in this Honda Grand Prix. It's 1, 2, 3 for Honda, so they are definitely going to want it to continue in this order.
It's interesting, at the beginning of the weekend, talking to Don Halliday, engineers for AJ Foyt, he said, you know, the Hondas and the Chevys seem to be pretty evenly matched when it's cooler, but in the heat of the day, we seem to lose something.
How about this young man, Spencer Pickett, the pride of the Mazda Road to Indy, Indy Lights champion. He is on track for a great result if he can hang on here, currently running 5th, but he benefited also from pitting early on lap 11th, now legitimately in the top 5.
And these guys have pulled away from Pagenaud. Enerson is the last of these 3 rookies, and he's got a 3-second gap to Pagenaud, so these kids are doing a good job.
Remember, those top 7 all on the Firestone Reds. Pagenaud doing the mandatory run on the blacks right now.
Meanwhile, Mikhail Aleshin continues to lead over Munoz and Sato. Still more to come. Honda runs 1, 2, 3 in the Verizon IndyCar Series from Mid-Ohio. 28-year-old Russian driver Mikhail Aleshin leads. There he is in that red and blue number 7 from Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports. And then Carlos Munoz from Andretti runs 2nd. Takuma Sato out of AJ Foyt stables runs in 3rd. All 3 with Honda power.
Ever since Iowa, this guy has really turned it on as we watch R.C. Enerson here, and Daly is laid out. He was the earliest to pit, so he's going to be the first to come to pit road here.
We wonder if R.C. Enerson can gain a little once Daly's gone from in front of him. He'll have some clean air to work with, and now Daly locks up on the way in. You want a hot lap on the way in. Well, he just gave you one.
Michael Cannon will talk Connor Daly down. Before the race, he told me, I still feel like we have a good chance, despite starting all the way at the back, because Dale Coyne Racing is great with strategy. Dale always makes it work. They got in before the yellow, and the car has been good enough. They actually have gone to their rookie teammate R.C. Enerson's setup. That car has been been handling better. It's sticker red Firestones this time for Connor Daly.
Connor Daly doing a great job saving fuel, did 28 laps on that stint, so that bodes well for later in the race for him. Back up front with Aloshin. He is wheeling this thing, guys. Just did a 106.2. That's the third fastest race lap behind only Pagenaud and Josef Newgarden.
He turned them on reds. It seems the reds, as we were saying, in break about 0.6 of a second quicker than the blacks. Your championship leader, Simon Pagenaud, back in 7th right now.
Pagenaud just did a 106.1 though on the blacks. So when Pagenaud gets off the blacks and onto the reds, he could have a really wicked pace.
Will Power just behind, about 2.9 seconds behind Simon Pagenaud on the racetrack. They're first and second in the championship. Pagenaud seems to have the better of Power both on blacks right now and running comparable lap times as you see James Hinchcliffe head to pit lane.
James Hinchcliffe says he's been big time loose, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment to try to deal with that. They're going from the primary Firestones to the softer, quicker, and here they last almost along the reds, and Hinchcliffe is back out. Remember, he served a pit speed penalty early. That's why he's dropped quite a few spaces. He was running 15th coming into this stop.
Well, it is one of those challenges from changing from the primary tire to the red sidewall tire. The balance of the balance of the car changes significantly. So if you're loose on the blacks, you really want to do much of a change because you seem to get more push with the reds.
That was a wicked fast stop at 6.1 seconds. That car bounced off the ground when it dropped and he was gone. You see Graham Rahal on his inboard here. He should be coming pretty soon. Hawksworth right behind him. Rossi. We have the 11, Bourdais, a previous winner here, Kevin.
And the strategy has worked out well so far for Sebastian Bourdais. They're taking the alternates off, going to the primaries. Let's watch and see if they do a front wing adjustment. They've been debating it. No change for him. R.C. Ederson also coming in, Jan.
Yes, and he's taking the opportunity. He's going with scrub reds and getting them some Sunoco fuel. And he has said, you know, I don't really have an issue, but he does now. He was telling me earlier today that the pit stops were going smoothly. It was not an issue at all. And now it has stalled after such an awesome performance. They want him to keep cranking it, but no fire right now in this Honda power plant.
The reds are on. It's his second professional pit stop. The reds are on, and that was about to bode really well because when you look at the table that says fastest laps of the race, who's quickest?
He turned the fastest lap of the race on his in lap. The kid was flying. He's been flying all weekend, and now this thing won't start.
And he did it on blacks. Katie?
Takuma Sato had a very frustrating weekend, but he's now rebounded by going off strategy. They were one of the few cars to start on Firestone blacks. Now they go down to Firestone reds coming in from 4th. We'll see where he cycles back out, Brian.
Mikhail Aloshin, it's been 14 laps since he last pitted, so he'll have a ways to go before he needs to be in. Looking back through, that moves Pagenaud and Power up to 3rd and 4th. They just kind of seem to be running in lockstep. Pagenaud has the better of it.
He just turned the fastest lap of the race. Pagenaud at a 105.5. So Aloshin we hear is laid out, so he's going to take the opportunity to get in here and get his service done.
Now, early on the first stop, he was warned about a pit violation. He needs to be outside of that white line, and he was on the way in. The first time he was well inside it to the left, and the officials don't want to see that as a protection for the guys at the beginning of pit lane.
And they want this to be ultra quick. You see, he had to go around R.C. Ederson. I can tell you, he did not stall the car. It looks like he ran it out of fuel, and they can't get it going. That is a quick stop, and he may, as you see, getting underway. Watch for these guys to cycle out. They'll be dropping in right around 10th spot.
And Graham Rahal comes. This is his hometown track, remember, but he is being really frustrated. He hasn't been able to keep up with the Chevys on the straightaways as you see him go to the Firestone Reds, and he's down and away, Brian.
Good stop. Nothing Rahal would like more than to find another victory here at Mid-Ohio. He's been hustling this car all weekend long and running up towards the front. He was pleased with a Firestone Fast 6 performance.
So we got Pagenaud back to the lead, Power in 2nd, Ryan Hunter-Reay in 3rd now. So everything is cycled. These guys have survived the going to the back of the field, and
Pagano is doing qualifying laps if he can right now. Absolutely going for it, squeezing everything out of that car to try to build the gap for the next pit stop if it happens under green.
Expect to see Simon Pagano on pit lane before too long, but right now he is absolutely flying on track. See some of the front runners leaving pit lane. Ryan Hunter-Reay, Tony Kanaan, and Simon Pagano with a moment when he finished his pit stop. He and Carlos Munoz down in the keyhole side by side, and we talked about Pagano perhaps just kind of taking it easy a little bit earlier. He certainly was not taking it easy with Carlos Munoz as he tried to stay in front running side by side through the keyhole. And that was close. We've already seen problems with Scott Dixon earlier trying to press a move.
The guy who's laying it down right now was Will Power, just turned the fastest lap of the race, and he's in the pits. Kevin?
Pagano had cycled back up to the front. He pits. Will Power takes over. He comes in. Now we're really going to be interested to see how they come back out. And keep in mind, Mikhail Aleshin is essentially the effective leader. Charlie Kimball is also in because Aleshin has already made that second stop. Second stop complete for Will Power, Katie.
And Charlie Kimball was the highest qualifying CGR car, and he's the highest running CGR car in the race. He went to used reds and filled it up with Sunoco fuel. We'll see where he cycles back out, Brian.
Good stop by Power. We talked about how quick he was. He's in front of Simon Pagano. I see Pagano third in the order right now. The blue and white 22 is Juan Pablo Montoya is leaving pit lane.
Tell you what, Will Power laid the hammer down for a couple laps. He went 2 laps further than Pagano. Pagano had some traffic, was battling with Munoz.
And now Pagano wants to get behind Munoz into the inside, almost touched there. Munoz to the outside. Pagano on the button. These are your championship contenders. Will Power.
You think he saw Power in front and was like,
absolutely.
For the love of God,
yeah,
I gotta see what the heck.
It's
well,
time.
Right now as they run, Pagano's point lead on Power is only 45 points. Will Power's on a charge.
Still on cold tires, and Pagano has to pounce by the end of this lap or he will be stuck behind him now.
Has to get it done. You're right on board with Graham Rahal. Simon Pagano trying to hunt down Will Power right there in the silver number 12. Pagano in the blue and white 22. Pagano has to get this done.
These guys were teammates in the old Atlantic Series back in the day. Will Power has always been the target for Simon Pagano. He's been the measure of pace.
A little bit of moving over here. He's going in really late.
Looked like he was going to try to feign to the inside. Will Power having nothing to do with it. Out of the keyhole.
He's on the overtake. Cindric warned Power. He's on the overtake. You see the overtake come on Power's car. So definitely playing chess with each other. They're gauging each other's push to pass.
But look at the jump that Will Power got off the keyhole. He pulled significantly away from Simon Pagano.
That's what happens when you take a look inside, get a little offline. You can really sacrifice the exit of the next corner. Now they've settled in. Power's tires up to temperature, up to pressure. Now it's going to be much more difficult for Pagano to have a go.
Pagano fought back after the disappointment of Toronto when Power won and he finished back in the pack. He fought back, he got the pole here. That was worth a championship point. That was worth some morale, but man, takes a beating again when you see your teammate back out in front. Simon Pagano needs to stop the momentum of Will Power.
We just saw Castro Neves come down the pit lane. I wonder if his guy, the captain, Roger Penske, is watching these guys and not really paying attention, because this is the championship battle right here.
Meanwhile, this battling has allowed Mikhail Aleshin to increase his lead to almost 10 seconds.
And I'm so impressed with the jump that Power gets off the keyhole, and that's really, if you want to concentrate on a corner on this racetrack, that's the one that you want to nail. It's going to give you an advantage down the straightaway as you look at the leader. Mikhail Aleshin almost 10 seconds over Will Power.
As these two guys fight each other, this guy's just got to put his head down and absolutely drive the wheels off of this car. He's got to pull as much gap as he can to give himself a buffer, but he's pretty much now on the same sequence as everybody.
Everybody needs to make one more stop, so Mikhail Aleshin easily in front right now and can manage the gap, which at Mid-Ohio, if you have the gap and you can manage it, that is the way to have a great day.
Last lap time was a 10th quicker than Power, so he's managing that gap and running quicker. Now Power has pulled a small gap on his teammate. And you got to give a shout out to Munoz. He is right now in 4th. And he didn't have a good qualifying, so he has been solid today as well.
You look at those guys, it's all pretty much the same strategy to the end. There's going to be one more stop, and Munoz laying down some good laps. Impressed with Alotion on blacks on a tire that should be about a half a second or so slower. He's running the same pace and actually quicker than Will Power and Simon Pageant.
We saw in practice the cars had great durability. Lap times were fast all the way through practice. They were saying the tires really only fell off about 0.3 of a second from the start to the end. So
I feel like we're watching similar situation to last race at Toronto, guys, where now if I'm a team strategist, do I decide to be one of the first ones to pit and protect myself against an untimely yellow, or do I want to try to stretch the pace and really go for the outright win if it's a green flag stop?
I think right now with Alotion with 10 seconds lead, as soon as that window opens up, you cannot afford to stay out there and catch a yellow. You got to just get it done.
The quintessential be the first to make your last stop. Don't forget, last year, we talk about points. Well, why are they so important? Why is 1 point important? Because last year, it came down to a tiebreaker, and that 1 point you get for the pole or anything else would be a problem. Why is Scott Dixon in the garage? Why do they want to get him back out? This is what happened earlier. He gets together with Castroneves, damages the left front suspension. You can't just let it go. Get back out there, get every point that you can get, because they are critical. You just never know. Kevin?
And we're getting to the point where really points aren't a consideration since nobody else has dropped out. We're just a few laps away where they're not going to be able to score any more points. But the Target Chip Ganassi team is still working because they'd like to mileage out the engine, and they only need 5 more laps to do that, so they'll keep working. Massive crowd here with us at Mid-Ohio today. Much should still be determined. Stay with us.
Crowd on hand at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, where as you get the overhead view, you can see with these intervals, the teams are going to start thinking, just as you've been talking about in the booth, what do we do on that final pit stop window? That'll open on lap 62, and this is just the same scenario we had for window 1. If you want to save fuel, you can pit on 62. You lock yourself in if you stop on lap 62. You have to save fuel all the way, but one of those Scott Dixon style yellows, you would vault yourself to the front. I think if it were me, I'd want to stop, give myself a little insurance, stop around 63, 64, get on the early side and protect yourself, Townsend, as you were saying, against that yellow.
Yeah, with the lead that Michaela Lotion has right now, which is at 10 seconds, I think he can afford to save plenty of fuel and take the insurance of being early to stop to protect against a yellow. And again, if you get a yellow, then all of a sudden you don't have to save as much fuel. So I expect a Lotion to absolutely stop at his first possible chance. If you're a little further back, like Will Power here or Simon Pagenaud, you could kind of risk it and stay out longer and try to make it up on pace. But man, where you are in the championship, I think you really want that podium finish today.
That's exactly what he did. He stayed out 2 laps longer than his teammate, took that risk, and that put him in front of his teammate. And we saw the fierce battle of Pagenaud trying to get back in position. But now he's kind of left him a little bit. He's got about a 1.5 second lead on his teammate.
Either way, pitting earlier or later, it puts huge pressure on pit lane. The guys have to be so precise because every 1/10 of a second matters for track position. Those stops are going to be critical.
And all you have to do is ask Josef Newgarden about how critical pit stops are here at Mid-Ohio. You see Will Power there in the silver 12, the blue and white 22 of Simon Pagenaud. Pagenaud a little bit quicker the last couple of laps than Power had been, but it's this man, Michaela Lotion. Best finish on a permanent road course was 7th at Sonoma in 2014. He did finish 2nd at Houston. This would be absolutely huge. Young?
And his team owner, of course, is Sam Schmidt. And Sam, pit strategy helped you get there, but you were bona fide in the lead with good pace. Now the call is, do you save fuel and take an early stop?
What would Roger do? No, I mean, we're just playing it. We are playing it safe. I mean, it's got a good lead, and he's got the pace. I mean, that's the biggest thing. So you know, just cross our fingers there's no yellows. That's the biggest help we need right now, is no yellows for the rest of the race.
You got to be very impressed with his pace and the way he's been fairly steady all weekend. He hasn't had so much pace in practice sessions, but he hasn't panicked.
No, we wanted him back in 2015. It didn't work out. We desperately wanted him back this year because we know he's got the pace. But it would take about a half a season for him to get used to qualifying in the reds and get to where James is. And I think you can see the last 3 races he's been, you know, toe for James in practice and really contributing to the overall goal here, you know. So cross our fingers.
All right, still some strategy to play out. And of course, he's also keeping it very close to the vest.
54 laps complete, as Jan Beekes has told us at lap 62. Pit windows open. We talk about cautions and not wanting one or wanting one. They typically don't get a lot of them here.
Tell you what, we're talking about the pace of Lotion, but that car behind him, Enerson, is actually the quickest car on the track, and he is chasing down the leader. He's 2 laps behind because that car stalled, but look, he's closing the gap to the leader and running quicker than the top 3 guys.
What a shame for a rookie in his first race to be doing so well on pace and have that issue on pit lane, but he's certainly got everybody's attention this weekend.
That's what I was going to say. He did what he wanted to do, and he showed up here and showed that he is serious. And what we saw yesterday in qualifying was that a performance of a veteran, because he was doing what he needed to do, laying down lap times, getting out of the way as well, and showing respect for his fellow competitors.
Don't forget, he just turned 19.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Michaela Lotion, Honda Power, leading here, the Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. What a crowd, and what a gorgeous July day. More to come. Looking down on the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the Pennsylvania 400 will run tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. on NBCSN because of the rain. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from Pocono, but it is an absolutely gorgeous day here. For Michaela Lotion running out in front, we have our first Russian-born winner ever in the Verizon IndyCar Series. We still have a long way to go, 32 laps in fact, and that means we're about 4 laps away from the pit windows that we've been talking about, and Simon Pagenaud has closed up on Will Power.
Really pushed it into the keyhole there, ran a little bit wide, but the track now, Townsend, is ripping up. There's high rubber in the keyhole, so you can kind of run a little bit wider of a line and get some more straightaway speed. But look at this guy. A couple years ago, we heard Sam Schmidt say that he missed a season and we wanted him, but this is the reason why right here. He lost it at Fontana, huge crash, broke his back, basically had to sit out for a long time, went into sports cars in Europe to get his feet back under him. But he's back, Townsend, this year, and he's really been on fire the last 3 races.
And don't forget, as a rookie, Michaela Lotion had never been to any of these small towns where we visit in the IndyCar Series. I'll bet 10 years ago he never would have dreamed winning in a place like Lexington, Ohio. And here is Scott Dixon back out on track, and we understand looking to just burn off some miles and mileage out an engine because he's out of the points window. And I wonder what might happen if he encounters Elio Castroneves.
He's going to say he's going to go looking for Castroneves maybe. So
if he could have gotten out earlier, perhaps he could have taken advantage of some points if other cars had dropped out. We haven't seen that type of attrition. So, like you say, now perhaps the business that he was talking about taking care of is mileaging out that engine. But Paul Tracy, always the conspiracy theorist, said, well, what kind of business is he going to take?
Well, check this out. Scott Dixon's been pulling offline to let traffic through on the back straightaway. The next car coming to Scott Dixon, Elio Castroneves.
And you ride on board Scott Dixon, but I understand Castroneves has already gone around him. So see, you guys building up this conspiracy theory, and it failed to materialize.
I don't know. I showed number 3. That's Castroneves right there behind Scott Dixon, guys.
Is he coming? Oh, there he is.
That is Elio. Let's see what Dixon does here.
There's the grassy knoll that they're coming through. So there, we'll find out if your conspiracy theory holds. We'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, this is the fight for the championship. Right now, Simon Pagenaud leads the championship, but Will Power just in front of him has been on a charge. And it'll be interesting to see how the pit stop strategy, that final pit stop plays out. Man, Will, every time, power off the keel just leaps away.
I love having Will Power, the chaser, the pursuer in the championship battle, because I think he loves that position. He doesn't have to think about protecting points. He doesn't have to think about high percentage decisions. He just has to go for it, and that's what he does so well on a track like Mid-Ohio.
Whoa! Big hit. It's the 41 of Jack Hawksworth. That's in turn 1.
Wow. And what lap are we on? Lap 60.
Just
barely enough to make it on fuel. You'd have to save a lot.
Right, Jack?
That was a really big impact. You can tell he's hurt.
Jack, you okay?
I think the wind is knocked out of him.
Yeah, he shakes his head talking to the safety workers, but big impact, and that will certainly take your breath away.
And for Mikhail Aloshin, this is a nightmare. Now you've got to race it out with all the big boys on pit lane.
If they can do a stop, the Schmidt team, like they did for his teammate, that 6.1 stop, they've got to make it happen, because trying to beat Penske on pit lane is a tall order for a lot of these teams.
That's great to see. Jack Hawksworth climbing out of the 41 on his own, but you saw pit lane. Everyone was set up. 61 laps complete. This was a little bit earlier when Hawksworth on the left fighting with Marco Andretti in the yellow and blue 27.
I wonder if they banged wheels and maybe something failed on the car, but no contact there. But
he gets in the grass.
He just
dropped his right side in the grass. You know, it's a lot like Charlie Kimball's crash in qualifying a few years ago. When you go off there, look, it's downhill grass runoff. There's barely any time to slow down.
150-mile-an-hour corner in 5th gear, and he just dipped a wheel off on the entry and lost the rear, and you're along for the ride after that. So big mistake there. He'll be devastated by that.
Now this helps that IndyCar keeps the pits closed so that you get closer to the finish for that lap stop. Now we are in the window where you can make it. And let's see if the pit's open.
It'll be 62 laps complete. And everyone, almost everyone, it looked like, was set up. Mikhail Aloshin, Will Power, Simon Pagenaud. That's the top 3 in the championship. Sits in 2nd and 3rd. Pit lane about to get incredibly busy, and this could be the race right here.
Look at the gap that Power's leaving to Enerson. And so he's left a good 5-car gap, so that's an advantage to Aloshin. So
Enerson stays on track. Everyone else comes to pit road, Jan.
And Paul, that 5-car gap is exactly what you want if you're the pit crew for Mikhail Aloshin. If they can get this done quickly, he should be able to cycle out and keep the lead. So far, everything is A-okay. They get all the fuel in. And what? No! Oh, there's contact. Mikhail Aloshin and Josef Newgarden.
And Will Power wins the race off pit road. He came in ahead of Simon Pagenaud, and he maintains that gap, but big problems in the middle of pit lane.
And you could see that coming. Josef Newgarden about to pit. And if you're the crew chief for Mikhail Aloshin, it's your job to watch incoming cars on pit lane.
He said it, you can win or lose in pit lane. This was your leader, Mikhail Aloshin. Look for the green car at the top of the screen.
And part of the problem is he had to make a front wing adjustment. So rather than have the left front guy do the front wing adjustment, you're putting a lot on the right front changer.
The guy here got hit right here on Montoya's car.
Right front.
So really lucky nobody was hurt. And then Hinchcliffe comes right out into his teammate. Poor Josef Newgarden.
Third time at Mid-Ohio for Newgarden. And he has issues on pit lane.
Wow. Now let me ask you this. I'm looking at the leaderboard as we see some debris on the racetrack. See,
Power is the first out of the pits, followed by his teammate. So back to the championship leaders. Aloshin now. That pit stop really hurt him. So
you see him back out on track. Daly, your leader. And the question is,
he pit on 57.
He's been under caution this entire time. You know that they reached up on the wheel and went to full lean.
Well, yeah, but he hasn't been under caution this whole time. He had to go green laps for 57 to 62 before for the course.
60
for the caution to come out. So that would be 33 laps of green. I can't imagine, unless he has a ton of caution, that he can make it to the end.
Well, the cautions breed cautions, but with the weekend that he's had, he's been struggling so bad. And I actually had a conversation with his dad as Aloshin comes back. His front wing is broken. I had a conversation with Daly's dad, and his confidence was down. He asked if I would go over and talk to him. I never got a chance to find Connor, but just to lead some laps after the weekend he's had would be a huge compliment.
They sent you to talk to him. Townsend just raised his eyebrows at that. Townsend won't even comment. Rarely is he.
Listen, no, I would agree with that. If I had a son and he was having some issues, I'd love to have Paul go talk to him. You're talking about one of the all-time greatest IndyCar drivers in Paul Tracy, and it's a good one to go down and give some advice.
You said
heartbreak for Aloshin. crew chief waved him out. He was making a wing change as the other guy was having a problem with the front tire. Waved him to go, and the car was there.
Heartbreak down in pit lane, yeah?
Yes, it was, and it was clearly the crew did wave him out. And the issue was that Josef Newgarden was in what they call the high-speed lane, and it's a case of you need to know who your neighbors are. If you know that someone is ahead of you and you see that car, you have to hold it. If Josef Newgarden had not been pitted just a few pits ahead of them, that would have been a clean exit. There was room for him to go out, but not if Newgarden was your neighbor coming in to make his stop.
It just goes to show you that it's not over till it's over, and as we said, coming in, one of those deals where your fortunes can rise or fall there in pit lane, and that's
you exactly can see Aloshin still banging on the steering wheel. He's furious.
Emotions running high here at Mid-Ohio, the Indy 200. It's Connor Daly who leads right now. Here's a look at Mikhail Aloshin, your leader before that last round of pit stops as he ducks in. He was at the back of the field because of an unsafe pit release. Here's the problem.
Yeah, if you watch, Brian, here's the right front tire changer. His responsibility to send Aloshin, but they also have him doing wing adjustments, which is a lot to put on one guy, and then also a safe release. And he just doesn't realize that Newgarden is going to pit right in front of them, and that leads to contact. Nothing the drivers can do. It's all air traffic control on pit lane. And here you see Aloshin just going, why? Why me?
And for Mikhail, he did nothing wrong. He went when he was told to go. He has no idea where Newgarden is.
Look at the marbles. Look at the marbles come flying off these tires.
Look
a ton of pickup.
Look at the Simon Pagenaud has, but Pagenaud's making a move on the outside. They touch.
Pagenaud, power, contact, and Charlie Kimball off at turn 4. Will Power and Simon Pagenaud racing incredibly hard down into turn 4. We talk about these restarts being the time to get it done.
And I'm sure that's the byproduct of all the pickup on the tires from that yellow. It was unbelievable to see the rubber flying in the air.
They're all over each other again, side by side. You will not get two cars through there.
Oh, but they try, and here's the carousel. Pagenaud still trying to attack. Power slides wide. Pagenaud inside.
Oh,
are they going to get it done?
They touch again.
And Pagenaud comes out ahead. It looks like perhaps Power might have missed the gear, and he drops back.
If I'm Roger Penske, I am freaking out right now. These guys, my easy championship leaders, going at it. The gloves are off. Can Will Power respond now?
And Will Power needs to gather his wits about him. Meanwhile, it's Connor Daly who leads. He's on blacks. He's got a simple mission from his team owner, Dale Coyne. Go as fast as you can on the primary tire and save fuel and keep Simon Pagenaud and Will Power behind.
Look at Hunter Ray. He had didn't get a full fill, we hear, but he's trying to race back. If I'm Pagenaud now, do I get crazy racing with Daly, or do I realize I've got my championship contenders all in my rearview mirror?
I think he knows that Daly's going to have to stop, and by the looks of Daly, I think they've told him, just go. You're not going to be able to make it. You've got to open up a huge gap.
And meanwhile, Mikhail Aloshin gets another penalty for hitting personnel in pit lane. Watch all of this again on the restart.
They come down the front straight. Power does the fade, makes Pagenaud go to the outside. They touch on the brakes.
Kimball with his problems.
Kimball locks up, slides off the road.
Nice safe re-entry here. A little dicey behind him as Rossi has a problem, but this is where it gets wild.
Yeah, these guys are still going at it right here. Power runs wide. Pagenaud gets a run. He does the
attack
over-under. An impossible move here to try and pull off. He gets power wide again, marbles on the tires. He runs into the next corner, runs wide again, and leaves the door wide open for Pagenaud. They make contact again, and he's through.
I mean, to have that much wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side action at Mid-Ohio and not have much bigger contact is a big surprise.
And I think back to a little bit earlier, as you see Tony Kanaan in the blue 10, the red 15 of Graham Rahal going at it. I think back earlier to when one of us said Pagenaud looked like he was just biding his time. Well, he's biding his time no more. That was full attack mode right there. Graham Rahal now pulling away from Tony Kanaan.
I think that was Pagenaud's way of saying, you might be chasing me in the championship, but I am not going to lay down. I'm going to attack just as hard as you attack me.
Absolutely, the gloves were off there through 11 and the carousel, and like you said, an impossible move in 11, but I think what it did was really move the chess pieces around and move power offline, off his game, into the marbles that allowed him to get the pass done.
I had my own concern about Pagenaud as we were getting to the halfway point this year, that he was starting to just points race and wasn't as aggressive as he was in the beginning of the season, but he's serious now. He's decided, I've got to make this happen. I got to assert myself back in the championship lead. Right now, if Connor Daly has to pit, this could be another win in the books for him.
Meanwhile, you saw that graphic pop up about where the Chip Ganassi team currently runs. It's crazy to think that they've been so dominant through the years here at Mid-Ohio, and their best runner right now, Kanaan in 9th, Kimball 12th.
Connor Daly out in front, 22 laps to go. Honda leads here at Mid-Ohio. You could lead a Verizon IndyCar Series race as well with Honda's fastest seat in sports. All you have to do is go to racerwithhonda.com and enter for your chance to lead the start of a Verizon IndyCar Series race in the Honda two-seater with a former IndyCar champion. Daly with the #1 proudly displayed on the side of his car there in the leader lights. Struggled mightily throughout the weekend, but they went to the balance that R.C. Anderson had on his car, and the cars come alive. You look there.
Push to pass for Hinchcliffe. He makes a move on Piggott.
Piggott
in the grass.
Chevy. Spencer Piggott doing a great job in his rookie season. Chevy power behind Spencer Piggott. Take a look at him in our Chevy driver profile. Indy Lights champion. And I'm telling you, it looks like it's about to be a changing of the guard. Youth is coming into the Verizon IndyCar Series. And Spencer Piggott, one of those young drivers, sure to impress. Connor Daly continuing to lead. Is he going to be able to make it, Kevin?
He is, but he's going to need some help. Instead of trying to save, that was going to be too tall of a task. They told Connor Daly, run hard, and we're hoping for a yellow. Simon Pagenaud behind him is told, don't worry about Daly. He's going to have to stop. But a yellow could still get Connor Daly to victory lane. He has about a 2+ second lead on Simon Pagenaud, and Will Power is also still lurking.
One of the most awesome things about the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course is your ticket gets you a seat anywhere you want, or, well, anywhere you can find it there on the hill down in 4, 5, and 6. Scott Dixon back in and out of his #9 for Target Chip Ganassi Racing, and they've done what they needed to do. They've gotten the mileage they need so that they can change that engine, and not the day at all that Scott Dixon wanted. See that Target logo on his back. It won't be there after this year. Target going away after 27 years in the IndyCar Series. And how long have they been there? There are 8 drivers in the field today that weren't even born when Target first started their sponsorship.
Look at this guy. He has the hammer down right now. They've told him, you're going to have to pit, so you got to go. He's got to hope for a yellow. He's pulled a 5.5 second lead on the championship leader, Simon Pagenaud. Hopefully he can maybe prey on these guys in the back that are running each other hard. Montoya, Rossi, Andretti, Newgarden, all these guys are fighting each other hard. Maybe they get into a crash with each other, but we move back to where the battles are back here. This is where the action is at in the race. These guys are all running each other really, really hard, Townsend.
Yeah, I mean, it's hotly contested in the mid-pack as you see your Firestone telemetry in the upper left. Now watch this, turn one, pretty quick corner, watch the minimum speed, drops down to about 135, 140. That's in traffic with turbulent air. You see him sliding around as he struggles without the downforce with Hunter-Reay taking the air in front of him. Let's see what Graham Rahal does here. That's a pretty good exit. Might keep getting on the button here and see if he can get himself a pass.
I think Ryan had a better exit off of there, and one of the things that the Rahal team was saying just a little bit earlier was that he needed some clean air to be able to get things done. Ryan Hunter-Reay, question is, will he be able to make it to the end? Listen to the radio.
It's going to be tough for us to make it. We're going to have to hope for yellow, do the best he can, and that might work out.
You guys are killing me. I'll tell you what. Ridiculous.
Well, how do you really feel? Now, if he's having trouble, who else is having trouble, Katie?
Ryan, this has been just an extremely frustrating couple of weeks for Ryan Hunter-Reay. We talked about 2 horrible qualifying at Iowa and Toronto, then some pretty bad results as well, and from 10th or worse. He thought this would be a great rebound weekend, and it was, but then the team was not able to get the car full of fuel on that stop. He's most likely going to have to stop again and have another bad result, Kev.
We were wondering how long could Connor Daly go. The word just came from his engineer, Michael Cannon. We will have to pit in 8 laps unless we get a caution. But keep in mind, if for some reason, I think they'll make it, but if they can't and everybody has to pit, then Connor could cycle back through. I know this, Simon Pagenaud did 23 laps today in the final warm-up, and when he finished, Kyle Moyer said that is a full fuel stint. They need to go 2 laps further on green here in this final stint today.
Wow. Wow. Put your thinking cap on. What are you strategizing there, T-Bell?
Well, he did, Pagenaud was 27 laps on his second stint. It's under my record. So
right now, Pagenaud's saving fuel because Daly is like pulling away big time. He's almost up to 7 seconds now. So,
but these guys know to a droplet how much fuel they have in the car typically, and Pagenaud on pace on a 107 flat. So I'm sure they must have a pretty good idea of the pace necessary to make it to the end.
Jan?
And I would exactly concur with you, Townsend, as they know the exact pace they need. When you hear someone like Kyle Moyer say that's a fuel run, a full run in practice, that's full go. They know exactly, they have dash readings, and they will tell them what number they need to hit. And this should be easily attainable for anyone who stopped under that full course caution. Daly is the only one outside of that. Now Ryan Hunter-Reay, as Katie has noted, they did not get all the fuel during the pit stop. That's why he's in trouble.
If that was the problem, it wasn't a full fill for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Right now, Daly quicker than Pagenaud in power behind him, even on the black tires. But as we heard, he's probably running full rich, getting all the distance that he can so he won't drop that far back. But question remains, is there truly enough fuel in the tank for Simon Pagenaud, Will Power, and the rest of the Verizon IndyCar Series? Well, he's not just about basketball. From executive producer LeBron James, Cleveland entrepreneurs get the chance to compete for their shot at success. Cleveland Hustles series premiere Wednesday, August 24th. Somebody else hustling on the racetrack right now, Connor Daly, laying down good lap times, trying to build as much of a gap as he possibly can, but how far can he go, Kevin?
Kyle Moyer is on the stand for Simon Pagenaud. We're having fun speculating and guessing. Can he maintain a reasonable pace and get the rest of the way without a yellow?
Yeah, I mean, the Chevy makes great fuel mileage, so, you know, we're okay there. It's just a matter of keeping our pace and everything. I don't think Daly can do it because he did 5 laps earlier. So right now we're just maintaining. I mean, the PPG car's been fantastic today. The guys have been doing great stops, you know. And yeah, we had to pit early there and got behind Will, and then we got our way around. Maybe not the best way to get around, but, you know, we need the points also with the championship. But the good thing is both of them are up there, him and Will, you know, doing what they need to secure this championship.
Thank you, Kyle Moyer on the stand for the 22 for Simon Pagenaud, and he is in position to extend that championship advantage.
That would be huge. You heard him say perhaps not the best way to get around, and during that commercial break, you also saw Josef Newgarden and Charlie Kimball, and I'm sure that Josef Newgarden will not be getting a Christmas card from Charlie Kimball this year after that move at the exit of the keyhole.
I'm sure Newgarden's frustrated from the pit lane incident earlier, but he's on the charge, and right now Newgarden could still pull off a top 10, knowing that Daly's got to stop and maybe Hunter-Reay can't make it. As we ride on board with Graham Rahal. Rahal currently running in the 7th position. A little bit of action back there with, I think it was Andretti and Hunter-Reay side by side.
There's a lot of action going on right here with these guys. This is an accident waiting to happen right here.
Well,
so this is the race of the track right here. We've got two guys, teammates here side by side. And for whatever reason, Hunter-Reay has been falling back down, either trying to make mileage.
He must be trying to make mileage. I guess they've decided it's better to just try to hang on and run super lean, but at this rate, he's dropped all the way to 16th. There's frankly not much difference.
Yeah, he and Rahal were battling it out earlier for the 7th position, and now he's dropped well back all the way to 16th as you ride on board with Helio Castroneves. So Ryan Hunter-Reay, you heard him say to his crew, you guys are killing me.
Well, he's frustrated for sure. He had his best qualifying, one of the best ones of the year so far. Thought he could stay up front, and he just got cycled back, and now they didn't get all the fuel in, and also ultra frustrated.
Very frustrating for Castroneves. I mean, to have a great starting position today, be a championship contender, and now if they finish as they run right now, Castroneves will be 103 points out while his two teammates are still going to duke it out. And there goes Castroneves inside Hunter-Reay.
Oh, this could be the yellow we're looking for right here. Hunter-Reay hangs tough on the outside line, and Castroneves a really late entry, but he's back on push to pass here.
He'll get him easily because Hunter-Reay's got to save fuel.
Clear, clear.
Yeah, Ryan Hunter-Reay in that fuel-saving mode just doesn't have it. And when you talk about the points, with Daly leading these laps, it cost Pagenaud a chance at 2 bonus points for the most laps led. Those will go to Mikhail Aloshin. So every championship point matters, and we talked about it earlier. Castroneves, Dixon, Newgarden, they have all had problems today. The only ones in the top 5 that haven't struggled would be Pagenaud, Power, and Kanaan, who came in here 6th.
Well, right now, Connor Daly continues to put on a pretty good show of pace. He only has to get a splash on pit lane. He could still come out of this, guys, with maybe a top 7, top 8 finish if he can keep it to maybe a 20-second total loss on pit lane.
Yeah, if they do a splash and they don't take a full load of fuel, they've only got to put a couple seconds worth of fuel. They'll stay on hot tires. He might cycle out in 7th, 8th place, I think, if they just splash that car.
Connor Daly through 11 into the carousel.
Stays out.
Stays out for another lap.
The longer he stays out, the less fuel you got to put in. So he could be looking at a top 5 still. He's got an 18-second gap to 5th. So next lap, he's coming in. We'll see how much fuel he takes. I'm sure it'll probably only 2 seconds, 3 seconds worth of fuel.
And the key part for Connor Daly is hit your marks. That's what determines the plug-in, pull-out time, if the fueler can get in exactly as expected.
And you saw Ryan Hunter-Reay continuing to drop. He's now 18 as Daly leads Honda Power down the back straightaway. He'll pit this lap. No tires will be put on. It will only be fuel. It will be timed. They'll communicate to the fueler when he's done to pull out and send Connor on his way. As you said, Townsend, he's got to hit his marks. Can't stall the engine. The fuel probe needs to go in smoothly, come out cleanly. Connor Daly needs to get out as quickly as he possibly can. That should hand the lead to Pagenaud.
Remember back in the day, Paul, when they'd whack the fueler with a stick?
Yeah.
On a short fill.
Now the fueler will just count the time that he needs. Can't speed here, don't make any mistakes. Hot tires, so he's gonna need a little bit of extra revs. So we got the 15 is 19 seconds behind at this point. Quick stop, and he should get it out. Kevin?
And he's been on the overtake this lap, trying to build as big of a gap as he can. It was up to 10 seconds. Simon Pagenaud takes over, and the fuel nozzle gets stuck and costs him a costly couple of seconds. There's still an opportunity for a great result. Remember, Connor Daly started last, and he's got a chance to finish 6th or 7th. Now he's going to fall back to at least 8th.
Here goes Rahal. Here comes Hinchcliffe. You saw the broomstick whack the fueler, and he just got stuck on the pullout.
They still get hit with that stick that you guys were talking about. Connor Daly right there behind Hinchcliffe, but behind him is Spencer Piggott. Pickett has the momentum.
I think some teams use a little light in the fueler's helmet, but Dale Coyne likes to go old school with the broomstick.
We saw Rahal and Bourdais there on the left side of the screen having quite a battle at the end of the straightaway. And remember, Connor Daly was on hot tires, so that gives him an advantage, but right behind him, Spencer Pigot is on the alternate on the red tire.
So watch this. You're going to see Connor Daly come in. He hits his marks perfectly, and right here you see that broomstick handle is going to come out, just whack him on the arm, and he loses grip on the stainless handle as he pulls back. 5.2, they would have liked 3.2. That probably would have counted for 2 or 3 spots on track.
Yeah, just a second would have put him out in front of Hinchcliffe, but the biggest problem is the cars that he's around, he's the only one on the primary black tire, and that red is going to be quicker, and the reds have been durable throughout the weekend. Now your leader, as he has been multiple times, in fact, in 10 of 12 races this year, Simon Pagenaud.
Back in control. He's got a nice big gap to his teammate. He's well in control of everything now, and this right here is a championship day to get his confidence back. Like I said, I thought for a while he was points driving, and today he showed that, listen, I'm taking control of this thing.
Well, this whole year has been moments of confidence building for Simon Pagenaud. Remember at Long Beach, his first win driving for Penske. He told me on the phone last week, he said, I don't think a lot of people realize how big of a deal that was for me personally to deliver that first win finally for Roger Penske. Then the pole position in Iowa, not known for his oval strength. He's only been doing ovals for a few years. He outdrove everybody in qualifying to start up front at Iowa. And then today, dominating Will Power here. Look at the gap that he's put on Power, 3.6 seconds since they were going hand-to-hand combat earlier. So all season, Pagenaud's demonstrated to the world and himself, I'm the best in the business this season.
Got to give a shout out to Munoz here. He has been quiet all day, used pit strategy to get him up the front, but this, the only Andretti car up front to get on the podium, would be a huge win for them. And look at Bourdais. Bourdais.
Whoa!
Whoa, that was the yellow that Daly needed.
Oh, it's going to come out at the wrong time. Sato continues.
Oh, and that's brutal for Sato, who had such a good, solid run going. They really needed it. And this will certainly bring out a yellow. When you're that deep in China Beach, there's no way out.
They might just keep it local yellow. Bourdais going to get out and just drag that car out of the way. And
I don't know
keep that track green. But that was exactly what Connor Daly needed about 3 laps ago. As we see Bourdais, he's got to run. Doesn't know which way to go. Do I go to the inside or go to the outside? He locks up and just gets into the bumper of Sato, and they both go off. Gave him the chrome horn, and got himself beached in the sand.
And Bourdais probably knows, heck, if I got back on track, they'd probably make me do a drive-through for that anyways. And here's the reaction from Pagenaud's crew, because if a yellow does come out, we get a restart with 2, maybe 1 lap to go.
It's going to take them longer than that to move that car if they did go full course caution. Still a local yellow down in turn 4 with 3 laps to go. Pagenaud 4.7 seconds in hand over Will Power. You talked about Munoz running well in 3rd for Andretti. You think about the heartbreaking Indianapolis 500 finish for Munoz when he finished 2nd, but this is going to give a little breath of fresh air to the Andretti squad.
With that accident just now, that promotes Graham Rahal up to 4th, and now Daly into 6th. So the last couple laps, things have changed. A good day for Rahal now.
The Verizon IndyCar Series, it can change at a moment's notice, but Simon Pagenaud just continuing to stretch his lead. Is there any concern at all on Will Power's camp about making it for fuel? Have they just gone a little bit leaner, or is Pagenaud just driving the wheels off of it, Kevin?
Not really, although Tim Cindric did tell him 2 laps ago to go ahead and save a little bit just to make sure. Simon Pagenaud is in a better situation. Kyle Moyer said we've been saving better than Will Power, and about 2 or 3 laps ago as Power started to gain a little bit, he said go ahead and turn it up a little bit. So no concerns for Pagenaud and not really much for Power.
2 laps to go. The last time by at the line, Simon Pagenaud looking to extend his points lead through turn 11.
And remember that the finish line at Mid-Ohio is different from where we do IndyCar starts and restarts at Mid-Ohio, which is effectively on the backstretch. But this will be the finish 1 lap from now as the white flag comes out. Simon Pagenaud cooking through turn 1. What a drive today.
Last lap, again. Make sure you slow down turn 4.
Slow down, as Kyle Moyer tells him to slow down for the local yellow. You don't want to run through there with too much speed. We got a meeting with the chief steward, and he really didn't like these guys running fast through yellow zone, so he's got to slow it down, get down to, you know, just a safe zone here. You can see right here, he slows down, takes it nice and easy.
It's tough to do. They ask for 15% off in that segment, but that's difficult for a driver to know what 15% is when you've been driving 100% for almost 90 laps.
It's been a 6-race dry spell as far as wins go for Simon Pagenaud, and for Roger Penske and his crew, it's been since 2008 that they've won here at Mid-Ohio. 1 corner to go for Simon Pagenaud, looking for his 8th career Verizon IndyCar Series victory. Simon Pagenaud, Chevrolet, take the victory at Mid-Ohio.
Nice job, thank you guys.
And there's that boost. There's that boost of confidence. There's that momentum breaker that Pagenaud and his crew needed. Kevin?
Roger Penske, the car owner, his team finishes 1-2 here at Mid-Ohio. He's talking to Helio Castroneves on the cool-down lap as he comes in. Roger, it looked a little iffy a little while there. The yellow didn't work out, but your guys finished the job. What a day for you.
Well, I tell you, it's an interesting race. Obviously, I'm sorry about Helio and Dixon getting here. I guess that they looked at it. It was, you know, we came out. He had a chance to get warmed up on his tires. I'm sorry about that, but I think our guys up front did a great job. They knew what to do on their fuel. We knew that Daly had the pit. So, you know, overall, great day for the team, and we got to keep going.
Were you watching when Pagenaud got by Power, and they did a little bit of rubbing there?
Well, look, these guys both won, and I think that's the reason they're driving for us. And fortunately, it didn't cause a problem, but overall, it was a little bit dicey there. But I'm sure we'll talk about it when they get back to the truck.
I love that, but ultimately, Roger Penske always lets his guys race, and he's headed to victory lane.
He said both these guys won it. There was absolutely no doubt about that. And he said a great day for Connor Daly, because even with that late race stop, he ends up in 6th, and that's
solid day.
Solid day.
Yeah, great result from Munoz. Paul, you talked about podium finish there. Graham Rahal, hometown boy, comes home 4th. James Hinchcliffe 5th. So a lot of good stories there in the top 10. We've got some guys running out of fuel, like Helio Castroneves. There's another one, James Hinchcliffe.
Made it just to the exit of turn 1, so he doesn't have that far to walk, as we see.
All this, no.
Pickett's out of fuel, or is that Newgarden out of fuel?
All this, no, they can make it to the end without a problem. Well, yeah, I guess they made it to the checkered flag, but that's not much further than that. It's just over 2 miles around this racetrack, but Simon Pagenaud is going to drive back to pit lane, into victory lane.
And he's thrilled because they did get unlucky early on the yellow, but his pace was exceptional. He had the pole position, and when he had to go head-to-head with who he considers the fastest guy in IndyCar on a road course, his teammate Will Power, he won.
They had to lift him out of the car this morning. His back was sore. The adrenaline now is off. He's won this race. We'll see how sore he is once he gets out of the car, but this morning he was really in some pain.
It was almost a must-have win, though, I think, to stop that surge of momentum that Will Power had. If Power had won again and Pagenaud had been 2nd, I won't say the championship was over, but not by any stretch of the imagination, but he had so much momentum.
Well, there are only 58 points separating Power and Pagenaud, but effectively, I'm going to say those are really your 2 main contenders now on the final stretch of 4 races in the IndyCar Series, and it's going to be fun to watch because clearly, Paul, nobody's going to give the other an inch.
Well, and neither of these two now, you can argue that Pagenaud is just as quick as Power in qualifying trim. You know, we used to question, is there anybody as quick as Power in qualifying? And Pagenaud has matched him this weekend, so it's going to be a chess match.
Let's see what these 2 guys, these are struggling to get
out of the car.
Curious how Power addresses Pagenaud here. I'm going to think to congratulate him.
Well,
yeah, that's nice to see. Two guys going at it.
You think about how those transporters will be, how those team meetings will be from here on out as the pressure of the championship builds even more than it is right now. Remember, double points in the final race of the year, so anything can still happen. We've seen it happen in the past. Simon Pagenaud gets his helmet off. Big celebrations down there. I'm sure he's elated, Kevin.
Elated and sore, but it doesn't hurt nearly as much when you get to celebrate in victory lane. Simon Pagenaud has needed help to get in and out. A big kiss from his girlfriend Haley, and he celebrates in victory lane for the first time here at Mid-Ohio. Before we get to how you got it done, I want to know how you were feeling. I was giving you a moment to let you focus on what you're doing, getting out of the car. How you feeling?
I can't feel anything right now, so it's all good. I can't feel anything. It's all good. My back was fine all race. Unbelievable. Thanks to INDYCAR Medical. Woo! That was a race there, huh? Wasn't that fun? It was awesome. Great battle with Will at the end there. I knew that was my chance. So you know, on that restart, it was time to go. It was a pretty interesting lap. Yeah, it was fun driving like that. Reminded me of my sports car days around Mid-Ohio. So awesome. Thanks to PPG. You know, obviously. Look at that.
That's racing with your teammate there. A little contact a couple of times, but Roger said, "Hey, that's okay as long as they don't take each other out."
It's racing. It was fair. It was clean. It was hard racing, and well, I'm just glad I won, really. But yeah, I just want to thank PPG Chevy for providing us again. I always say it, but providing us such a great aero kit and an engine, and obviously Verizon. What an incredible job they're doing to help IndyCar grow and continue growing. So thanks to them for bringing the fans to the racetrack. It's awesome to see all the fans on the infield. The track is packed. It's really cool.
Maximum points this weekend with the pole and the win. So you're now back up by 58. But when that yellow came out, are you thinking, here we go again early in the race?
Yeah, I mean, it was going way too good at the start to be true, to be honest. But we bounced back. I never lost faith, and the car was really good today. So it was really when it was time to push, it was easy to lay down some fast laps. The red Firestone tires were amazing today on the car. So I just pushed as hard as I could, and here we are. So it's awesome. 4 wins this year. Thank you.
Well, the championship has really never gotten out of hand, but it was getting a little tighter. A statement today by Simon Pagenaud. Over to Jan Beekes.
And yes, that was a statement. And of course, what a great battle between teammates. And that was the first place you went. You went to go see Simon. What did you say to him?
Oh, I said, good job. It was an interesting battle there. I was sleeping on that bloody restart. I regret that. I should have been more on it. Connor went before the zone, but hey, so would have I. Yeah, and then I got all marbles on the tires, and it was a good, clean battle. It was tough, but yeah, it was. It sucked finishing second. All the effort you put in for that race, but Simon did a bloody good job, and it's turning into a pretty good battle. The points opened up, obviously, but we need to keep pushing.
Are you surprised that he was that aggressive? He had a fairly decent championship lead. Now, of course, it's bigger, but you were the one who really should have been attacking, and he was attacking you.
Yeah, I just slept on the restart. I should have been better than that. I regret that, but he's going to push. Like, obviously, the more gap he can open up, the more comfortable it is for him, and he saw that there was an opportunity, so he went for it, as you should. But it should be. It's on me for not really being on top of it on the restart.
We're going to take a look at some of that now. That rubbing that you had together. As you look at this, how physical of a day was it as well?
It was very physical in that middle stint. The end it was okay. We're just saving fuel, just making sure we made it on fuel. But yeah, physically, man, that's as tough as it gets.
All right, Will Power taking a much-needed seat here on the wall, but excited to be racing his teammate clean and hard.
A lot more to come from Mid-Ohio. You see the celebrations down in pit lane. It was a classic Verizon IndyCar Series event. You're watching NBCSN's coverage of IndyCar, and it's been brought to you by Hyatt Gold Passport, the official hotel sponsor of Graham Rahal and the number 15, and by Advanced Auto Parts. Let's get you back on the road. We'll be right back to Mid-Ohio.
Welcome back to IndyCar coverage on NBCSN from beautiful Mid-Ohio, where fans once packed the grounds and are now filing out. It was a great day for Honda, including Carlos Munoz, the top Honda. Carlos started 15th. A nice recovery for a podium. What changes did you make to have such a good recovery?
You know, in the warm-up we test a completely different car I didn't like, and I said to my engineer, you know what, let's go back to my qualifying car. I think it's a really good car for the whole 90 race. You know, after the meeting, the race strategy, we say, okay, in this lap we're gonna pit whatever happens. And I say, okay, if I do podium, I'm gonna miss my flight because my flight is I8, so I have to run after it, so I'm gonna miss my flight. And now, so you know, I enter in that lap in the pit stop, and finally a yellow come to our way, to our lock. So that yellow helped us in the track position. You know, once we had the track position, I think my pace was really good, and the race was really physical, especially when I had to push a lot on the blacks. And then in the end, I had to save a lot of fuel in the last stint, so it wasn't as physical. You know, really happy for all my whole crew. You know, after the Indy 500, we have a really tough races and luck and everything. So finally back to the podium again. I'm really happy, especially for the whole Andretti team, for Honda, and for everyone, for the fans. You know, great show up as always here. So thank you very much for everyone, and thank you.
All right, Jan, we better let him go so he doesn't miss his flight.
Well, I think Graham Rahal may be in a similar situation, and he in fact was telling me a moment ago that your race was a lot with Munoz, and it came down to pit strategy. Last year you pitted early, and that paid. This time you stayed out a little bit later. Is it a case of just mixing it up each time?
It's a case of starting up front, you know. I mean, that's the truth, you know. When you start up front, you can't really risk things, and when you start, you know, 13th, you have really nothing to lose. The only way you're going to get to the front is by taking a risk, and it paid off. You know, if you saw Munoz, you saw Bourdais, Sato, those guys were all on the same strategy. We couldn't do that, you know, at the time running 6th. You know, it just wasn't going to pay off for us. So, you know, at the end of the day, though, I'm really proud of my steak and shake guys because, you know, we had our backs up against the wall a little bit after that first yellow. That really hurt us a lot. But, you know, we kept our heads down. We had a great car today. It was faster than I think most anybody, as people could see. It's just kind of hard to pass, you know, getting caught up a little bit. And then I don't know why, but I was really, really, really slow on the straights. I was on push to pass once, and Kanan wasn't. And he still pulled me by the end of the straight. So we got to see what's kind of going on there. But, you know, I'm pretty pleased with the performance of the car today. And, you know, this team continues to impress. They do a great job, and it's nice to get another top 5.
And the team answer on that radio when you said about the straight line speed is some people may have trimmed out. That was a strategy in the past, but people haven't been doing that recently.
Yeah, we know most of the people we were around weren't as trimmed as us. So it's a little bit of a surprise. But, hey, that's the name of the game. And, you know, we were slow in the trap speeds all week, so that's kind of it. But most importantly, let's forget about all that stuff. Let's just focus on the fact we finished 4th. We had a great day. Nice to be back in Ohio wearing the Buckeye stuff. It worked out for me, and you know, I think that moved us up in points a lot. So we're looking forward to Pocono. It's been a busy next couple of weeks. A lot of testing, but looking forward to Pocono.
Great points day for Graham Rahal. Starts 6th, finished 4th. Again, good day at the office.
Absolutely a good day at the office. His 6th top 5 this season. Simon Pagenaud getting ready to go spray some champagne and celebrate another victory and the extension of his championship lead. Celebrations ongoing here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio wrapping up. And one thing is for certain about the Verizon IndyCar Series, Robin Miller, your fortunes can change in the blink of an eye.
I thought we might be interviewing this young man, Mikel Lotion, in victory lane. He looked like he had this race well in hand, and then disaster in the pits through no fault of your own. But I was impressed when you got out of your car, kid, and you thanked your teammates. You didn't throw your helmet or get mad or anything. You just looked like that was part of racing.
Well, you know, sometimes I can hold myself, yes. But to be fair, you know, that was a racing incident, and I understand why it happened, and you know, everybody, it was a very nervous moment for everybody. We were leading the race, and everybody was coming to the pits. Yeah, you can see there was a lot of people coming at the same time, and yeah, we got just a little bit overstressed probably with releasing, and we've got into Newgarden. So I mean, you know, that's life, and that's racing. The good thing that we were leading the race, and
comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, comfortably. Seriously, I was saving tires, saving fuel, and at the same time pulling away from Penske cars. So it was a great feeling.
And you were on blacks and they were on reds.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, we had a really good pace. I mean, that's a really good progress compared to where we started the weekend. You know, we started like dead last, and then we qualified P10, and in the race we led most of the race. And okay, you know, we did some mistakes, but we're gonna kick some ass next time.
How about your wrist, brother? Was that when the contact made?
Yeah, I think I hurt a little bit my wrist when the contact was made, because it was made through the, you know, from the front right wheel, and the steering wheel just kicked the arm, because there is no power steering in IndyCar, which is actually awesome. But sometimes, you know, it can kick you pretty hard, like this time.
Okay, Kevin, we're going to take him to the State Fair and get him a corn dog next week. He'll be fine for Pocono.
I've got his teammate James Hinchcliffe, who went from 9th to 5th, but the story is much more than that. Perseverance was the key today.
It really was, man. I mean, 9th to last to 5th was pretty impressive, but we didn't catch any lucky yellows. We had to get there. We didn't have a great start, had a really evil balance the first 2 stints, if I'm honest, just really chasing the rear of the car, holding on for dear life. But every pit stop, the guys worked on it, made it better and better. When we got back on the reds in 3rd and 4th stint, it really came alive. And through the pit sequence, we caught a couple guys in that last stint, caught a couple guys on track, made some passes, and stayed out of trouble at the end when some guys made mistakes. So it's, if you had told me at half distance we'd have made a top 5, I would have told you didn't understand motorsports. But thrilled to get up here, happy for Aero and everybody at the team. They worked really hard and got it for McHale, man. I mean, that's a tough break for sure. And you know, the 7 guys proved they had the pace today, and it's just it's unfortunate it didn't work out for them. I really feel for them.
Good run, though, for James Hinchcliffe after the podium at Toronto. A top 5 here today, Brian.
Absolutely, Kevin. Sam Schmidt and the boys produced good cars today. More to come from Mid-Ohio right after this.
And back live from Mid-Ohio, where podium celebrations are underway. Meanwhile, down further on pit lane, Connor Daly finished 6th. But Connor, you started 22nd. How big is this day for you?
Oh, it's just awesome. The team put me in a position that I probably didn't deserve to be in, because I drove the car off the track literally all weekend. So we went through 2 front wings, and that was my fault. So thanks to them for giving me a great car, because the car was great. I just had to figure it out in the middle of the race, and we did, and it was fun.
I have a feeling the 18 team will be able to put the pieces all together pretty soon, Brian.
Well, we certainly hope so, and I know he does as well. For those of you on NBCSN, the German Grand Prix coming up next, but look through the results. Pagenaud with another victory. That was absolutely key.
Yeah, well deserved for Simon Pagenaud. Power's going to battle him in the championship going forward, so nice to see those 2 contenders be at the top.
You saw Juan Pablo Montoya there in 11th. His crew chief, Vance Welker, involved in that contact in pit lane. He has been checked out in medical and is okay.
Yeah, just an all-around great event. A lot of hot racing at the front, but some of these championship contenders beat themselves today.
Speaking of championship
Scott Dixon.
Yeah, there you go. Look what happened to Dixon in the championship.
Looks like a 2-horse race now with Pagenaud and Power. We have 4 races to go, 2 super fast ovals and 2 terrific permanent road courses. And boy, it's going to be awesome. You just have a feeling it's going to go all the way to the wire at Sonoma.
And double points at the season finale. Simon Pagenaud taking another trophy to grace his mantle at home. Congratulations for him. You know, the IndyCar Series, well, they'll return to NBCSN in 3 weeks. So be sure to join us Sunday, August 21st at 3 Eastern for the Pocono 500. For more information on the Verizon IndyCar Series, log on to NBCSports.com. Congratulations to Simon Pagenaud on his win. Thanks to Townsend Bell, Paul Tracy, Katie Hargett, Jan Beekes, Kevin Lee, Robin Miller, and a special thank you to Jenny Nickel for all you did for all of us. So long, everyone. We'll see you in Pocono.